Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 251 of the Civil Gore Podcast. I'm your host, Tim.
And this is Brian. And after our fun opening week, for the season there, the rundown where we had the round table, now you're just stuck with just Tim and I.
Yeah, just us. But it's a nice way to kick off season 7 because we have a great movie that we're featuring today. And I think we have a really good rundown because we have both been watching a heck of a lot of horror.
Yeah.
So I think we should get right into it, Brian. This is our first chop. All right, Brian, I'm going to let you kick it off. There's a couple of these that we both watched, so we'll discuss those at the same time. But I'll let you kick it off with your Amityville project.
Yeah, I decided to go back to that because I figured, at this rate, if I pause this project too long, it kind of like just piles up on you. It's kind of like, those people, the people here that live on the East Coast. Like if there's a snowstorm that's like one of those really long ones, sometimes you got to go out in the middle and kind of shovel, or it just piles and piles and piles. And the way they produce Amityville movies these days, if you give too long of a break, you're basically gonna end up with another 30 on the list. And like it really is like I think there's like 7 or 8 already from like that got added in 2022.
Oh my gosh!
So I figured I'd get back on the bandwagon here for Amityville, and I watched Amityville Poltergeist. This was one of those weird ones where it was like there was a couple of people that were that acted really well in it. A couple of people didn't. But the thing is like overall it's like this one didn't even, I don't even think it mentioned the word Amityville in the entire movie. And I looked at the history of it on IMDb, and it had like 4 other titles until when it went to distribution, and that's when the Amityville title got slapped on it.
Oh yeah, they said this is never going to sell otherwise, so we're going to slap this on there.
Yeah, and I mean, it had a pretty basic premise. A guy gets offered a house-sitting job at a house, which I guess you're supposed to believe is in Amityville, even though there's no mention of it. He's, I guess, a college student. And he goes, so he takes this job at the woman, I guess, that runs that owns the house is this old woman that's got some kind of health issues. I don't know. They really don't go into too much detail on that front. But her son, I guess, is going to take her to his sister's house for the care. It is really like the way the plot moves along is very like, it's not a lot of explanation to why things are happening, but either way, basically they just, this woman now is at the house, and this guy in the house sits, and she warns him, don't worry about, and she does have a kind of a funny line. It's like, she goes, oh, it's not, you shouldn't worry about what's outside the house, you need to worry what's in the house, kind of a deal. And there were actually some creepy imagery, no explanation, no, other than that this ghost that kind of like a combination of the one from The Ring and The Grudge, like combine, like just walks up the stairs and then kind of like makes that that face, that Donald Sutherland face from the Body Snatchers, like that. And it just keeps happening, and like I assume the mother gets possessed somehow, even though she's not at the house anymore. She gets possessed, and then I don't think the main character he necessarily gets possessed, but he just sees it all. Very weird. But overall it had some creepy imagery, and I know I don't know if this is necessarily a compliment, but it definitely wasn't the worst one I've seen.
Yeah, that's damning with faint praise, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, definitely slow moving, but it was, you know what? I mean, here's the thing. If they didn't put that Amityville title on it, I guarantee you people like me would not be watching it, because, usually the people that are watching these things are these Amityville completionists, or people that just, see that Amityville title and think they're getting a spin-off of the first one. Whatever, I got through it. Moving on to the next one. I forgot what that one is, but It's definitely a lot in the doc. Thank God for Tubi though. They seem to like just keep throwing them at you, which is a good thing. It's like as soon as they like there's a space, they fill it with an Amityville movie.
They should have the whole subgenre Tubi that you can browse just the Amityville titles.
You know, they did at one point. I swear to God, I think they did have a thing where it was like, you know, when you scroll down and it was just like Amityville titles. I think they might have taken that idea. I'll save the ones that we both saw for after. I thought you had saw Wednesday. You didn't watch Wednesday yet?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
I've seen the first episode, but I haven't finished the series.
So I watched, got through all of Wednesday, and oh my God, did I love this series. I mean, Jenna Ortega, of course, you know, like I think I said it on last week's episode, but it's worthy of the repeat if I did, is that like, I think this year you're going to say it at least 100 times is, boy, Jenna Ortega is so great in blank, and just insert whatever project because she's so good in this. You know, I know there was some discussion about how, you know, the rest of the Addams clan looked in it, like specifically Luis Guzman as Gomez Adam, and I gotta tell you, he did an amazing job, like he does in everything. And if you look at the his historical comics of it, that's what he looked like. Yeah, he was short and pudgy and you know, everyone, yes, they get the.
He's actually probably the most spot on Gomez there's been so far.
I mean, you know, everyone thinks of the original show and they think of the movies, but this is actually, if you look at the cartoon versions of it and you look at the comic versions, this is what he looked like. And he did a great job. He was hilarious in it. You know, they did a great, I mean, the best way I could describe this movie, this series to me is it's almost like if it's like definitely reminds you of Addams Family meets like Harry Potter. Like, you know, the whole plot takes place at the school called Nevermore, which is very Hogwarts-esque. And in fact, I've seen people on Instagram, they do like side-by-side comparisons to like scenes from Harry Potter, scenes from Wednesday. But yeah, it basically, the way I described it to someone, I said, if Tim Burton did Harry Potter, that's what you're getting here. And that is not a bad thing by any means. The series is fantastic. I mean, it's just got everything you'd hope for in that kind of a series. It definitely it was darker than I expected, which was great. And what I've been hearing is people that necessarily may not have watched it have gotten into it and have loved it, which is great, because I think, didn't it break records like on Netflix or something?
Yeah, it was a huge success. I mean,
like it even beat Stranger Things, I think. So, I mean, with that said, of course, season 2 is in the works. Hopefully it will come around the same time this year, although I don't think so, because I haven't heard of it even going into production yet. But I really do hope the series continues for many years, as it's great. And I mean, just the entire cast was phenomenal in it. You know, a lot of good wink wink nod nods, and it kept, I'll have to tell you, it kept coming every time you think you figured it out what was going on. You know, something else had a twist. And it kept going. So, but yeah, great cast. I think everyone, like, they also love the best friend in that Enid, which is like the exact polar opposite of, like, if you want the exact opposite of of Wednesday's character, you have Enid, and it just works so well. So yeah, I highly recommend that series. Another movie I watched. This is one of the screeners we got, Tim. I think you would really like this. It's called Landlocked. It got a lot of Landlocked. Sorry, it got a lot of buzz at the festival. So it's basically this family kind of plays themselves in like a pseudo reality version of them. You know, it's like very low budgety in that respect. But basically this one guy gets summoned to his childhood home, and it's about to be demolished. And he discovers this video camera, and it basically, while he looks into the camera, it sees into the past. So he's basically like it's very slow burn of a movie. But you know, it found footage-esque in that way, and it's just basically he's trying to collect all the memories as he's going in before the house gets destroyed. And that's all. I'll leave it at that, because it really, you need to see. It wouldn't do it justice to describe it with any more detail other than that basic the premise of it. But it's really cool. There's very eerie scenes.
It's a very Twilight Zone-esque.
Kinda, yeah. There's a bit of a Twilight Zone. There's a bit of a a bit of a classic style found footage in there, even though it's not truly found footage because, there's just regular, like, sequences in it. But definitely just something, and I think the fact that it's like, I don't know what it was shot on, but it looks like very old, like, almost like a 16 millimeter kind of film. So it's kind of just really like, has that like roughness to it that makes it a little like unsettling. You know what I mean? You ever see movies where it does that, where it just works? And I think, and it's just that, you're not sure quite what's going on throughout the whole thing, which is another unsettling feature to me. And but overall, I think it was really good. I think you need to check that out, Tim. I think you'll like it. And the last thing I saw before we get into the things that we both saw was Velma, which is it's a new version of like the origin story to of course Velma from Scooby-Doo. Mindy Kaling does it. It's animated, and it basically does a good job of poking fun at a lot of stuff about just the whole Scooby-Doo genre, the way HBO does things even a little bit, which is kind of funny.
This one's gotten destroyed in the critical reviews because everybody hates it.
Yeah, I don't know why they necessarily hate it. I think they're expecting something completely different than it is. It's very adult.
I think the biggest problem is Scooby-Doo fans don't like their franchise being screwed with, and some of the critiques I read said they didn't understand the characters. Like, none of the characters are true to the Scooby-Doo characters. They didn't like how the show seemed to kind of put down fans of Scooby-Doo. And then, of course, the adult stuff, they said, yeah, I don't know. I can see where if you're a big Scooby-Doo fan, this would rub you the wrong way.
Yeah, I mean, and I get that, but it's you got to remember the source. It's Mindy Kaling. She's a comedian. She tries to do... I don't think she's just poking fun at Scooby-Doo and Scooby-Doo fans, necessarily. I think she does have... I don't know. To me, I sense there is something that she does like about the characters. It's different. It's not your characters that you're used to, trust me. I mean, and they go into... I think they play on, like, the weird, like, fan base of what Scooby-Doo would like. How everyone wants to see Daphne wearing no clothes. Those people like that. Like, it plays upon that kind of stuff. And it plays upon, if someone... Like, almost like if a horny teenager got hold of this franchise, it feels like that's what you get.
I'm gonna have to
only
watch
watched
it.
The first 2 episodes. It wasn't. I thought it was fine. I enjoyed it. I mean, is it the best thing I've seen? No. I mean, but that's right now. There's a lot of good stuff out there, so it's kind of hard to really. There's a lot of competition with stuff, but I didn't. I didn't see a problem with it, but I did see a lot of the things that you're saying, the reviews, but. I personally thought it was okay. I thought it was a little fun. I mean, you gotta have fun with it. If you can't poke fun at your own likes and dislikes, then you're taking yourself too seriously, I think. So I guess the next things we saw together. So since I've been talking a lot, I'll let you start off. Or do you want to do the 2 things that you saw that I didn't yet?
Why don't we do the ones we can do the ones we both watched.
Okay.
The first one up was Sick. This is on Peacock, I believe. And this is a slasher about 2 young women who go to this cabin on vacation. And this is during COVID, during the height of COVID. So everybody's mask is right when everybody's like, hey, you got to wear a mask. You got to wear a mask. Oh, yeah,
it's very plot-driven, the COVID element.
And they're apparently being stalked by some invader. And it's very Scream-esque. In a sense.
Well, Kevin Williamson, there's no hiding his touch on it.
Yeah, what's funny is I didn't know that Kevin Williamson was involved when I first watched it, and then only when I was going back and reading reviews afterwards did I see, this was a Kevin Williamson project. I think at one time it was even called an untitled Kevin Williamson project.
Yeah, I knew it was supposed to be out sooner, right? It was supposed to be out sooner than it was.
So I was like, well, of course Now, I will say, I may not have liked it as much as you did, Brian. I thought the movie was fine. The problem was not with the movie. The problem was with me. Because at the time I watched it, this was a few days ago, I just was not in the mood to hear about COVID. I didn't want to be dredged back into that world. I don't want to remember those 2 years. They were horrible. We were finally starting to get somewhat semblance of back to normal. And then you turn on a movie and now you're back into the world of masking and all this stuff. And it really bummed me out, to be honest. And the fact that it was such a heavy part of the plot, it turned me off of the movie immediately. And I never really could get into it the way I thought I should because of that. And that's not on the movie. That's not the movie's fault. That's just a personal hang up of mine. So I thought the movie itself was really well made. It's a very simple plot, and it's executed very simply. But even though I say it's very Scream-esque and stuff, I don't know. It didn't feel derivative. I still felt fresh. It still felt very entertaining. So my only problem was the setting. I wish the whole COVID thing was just not there. I don't want to see more movies about COVID. I have no interest in any more COVID horror movies at all, period.
Yeah, see, and it's funny. So I thought it was okay. I mean, I saw people that think this is like the best slasher in years.
Well, it had like a critical rating of like 92%, so I thought it was just going to blow me out of the water. And I was like, yeah, it was good, but it wasn't anywhere close to 92%.
Yeah, no, I saw a lot of people we follow on Twitter were raving about it, and I'm like, I gotta watch this thing. I can't wait. Now, granted, I will say that the two leads were fantastic.
They were, yeah.
Gideon Adlon, and I forgot the other girl's names. Sorry, I'm not prepared with that piece of info. But I thought were fantastic. I won't say which one, just because I don't want to. But one of our favorite actors plays one is in there, and I'll just say he did an amazing job as always. We'll let you discover him, and for those who didn't see it. But it's funny to me, as good as a lot of the sequences were, the COVID part to me too actually was the only part that it's like anything. I thought I kind of could see where the movie was going, whether or not that's just me watching a million horror movies all the time or me just getting lucky guesses, but I kind of predicted all the plot twists in this.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's because of the Kevin Williamson thing where, you kind of know his style. So you know that, okay, what you're seeing, there's going to be some kind of weird twist to it. Could have been that. But also, I never not that movies these days it's hard to quote unquote scare me in a movie anymore. But to me, the unsettling point of all time was the COVID thing. You're right, because it goes back to it. And I'll tell you, they do a good job of representing that time period.
Yeah.
Had the whole thing with the masks and how, especially that opening scene, I have to say, got me, I was getting, a lot of anxiety actually watching the opening sequence because of that, where he's in the grocery store and he's looking for there's bare shelves and
looking for toilet paper, and I'm like, oh
yeah,
God.
and thank God I didn't have to deal with that part, because thank God my amazing wife, she buys in bulk, and she bought the bulk toilet paper right before the craziness, before COVID was a thing. She just happened to go to Costco and get the stuff, so we didn't have that kind of thing, and we had literally stocked up on food 2 weeks before they locked everyone down. So we didn't even have to go to the actual store for I think of 2 months into COVID almost. But besides that, it's not after 2 months you go out in the store and it was hey, let's all dance around. No, it was still crazy.
Still
you're still nervous. You're still nervous. And one scene I will say that I have to say is that one with a girl when the guy's in the store and she coughs online, just a little and everyone turns around and stares at her.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, I remember that. It wasn't that long ago.
No.
And it brought me back with pure anxiety to the point of where I'm oh my God, it's it's not like we're 100% over with it, but we're at the point now where we're truly just living with it. It is what it is. It's I'm always going to be careful if I know I'm going to be around someone who's vulnerable. But I always used to do that anyway when I had a cold, I would always do that. So I was always in that kind of mindset anyway. It's just yeah, I agree with you though. I don't need to be brought back to that, because that was for someone like me, my anxiety levels and my OCDs and all that stuff, those first 2 years were a living hell,
Yeah, I mean, I watch movies to escape, not to go back to places I don't want to be. So
yeah, I mean, you know what? And I guarantee I've seen a couple of COVID documentaries already, and there's going to be probably in the next 5 years, you're going to have 30 of them.
Yeah.
I don't need it anymore.
I'm just dreading this whole wave of COVID setting movies that are just now coming out, because they were filmed, right after the filming started back. And then they said, oh, we got to make a movie about COVID. And then they're going to start, and then you're going to start seeing all these come out in the next 2 years. I have no interest. I don't want to see any of them. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and you know what? 30 years down the road, you want to start doing that again? For our kids and
I'll watch it 30 years from now.
Yeah,
I don't watch
when
Contagion movies. I mean, I'm done. I've lived through it.
Yeah.
I don't need to watch Contagion. I don't need to watch any of those movies anymore.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen, you've seen we've seen history movies where we're like, oh my God, can you imagine living through that? Well, we live through this now. We don't need it right now. 30 years from now, we'll look back at it and then, it'll be bad enough.
It kind of ties into our next one I'm going to talk about. I'm going to skip the next one, Brian, because this kind of ties in so well, and that's The Last of Us.
Yeah, which is kind of funny, I know. And I have almost the exact same thing. I didn't mind that thing in that for some reason, but because it's
The Last of Us, of course, it's based off. It's a new series. It's based off the popular PlayStation video game franchise, which I played the first one. I never did play the sequel, but it's kind of a beloved franchise when you talk to PlayStation fans. It's a great game, but it's about kind of an apocalyptic setting where it's actually, in this case, it's a fungus pandemic that basically turns people into zombie-esque creations. They're almost monstrous, more monstrous than like a typical zombie. And so you have this guy. I don't want to spoil anything, but you have a main male protagonist, older guy, and
of course is amazing in it. But,
and a younger girl.
Pedro Pascal is awesome. Yeah,
and I'll just leave it at that. And them trying to navigate this apocalyptic hellscape which they're going through. So I really liked it. I thought they did a fantastic job. Now I will say I almost liked the beginning more than I did the end. For some reason.
Me too, actually. I feel the same way, yeah.
And even Olivia said the same thing. Olivia loves apocalyptic stuff. Loves it. I mean, that's basically all she watches is post-apocalyptic TV shows and stuff. That's really, like, if you give her a choice, that's all she's going to watch. And she even said the same thing. She said, I hate to say it, but she said, I kind of started losing interest in the second half. Like, I thought the first half was amazing. And then I thought the second half, I hope it just gets better. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I think you're kind of right. Like, it almost like when everything was hitting the fan and you're seeing the world descend into chaos, that part was really good. But after you got into the post-apocalyptic thing, I think the pace slowed down so much that it kind of dragged for me a bit. But I think it'll pick back up. I mean, we still got plenty more episodes to go. I think it's going to get better.
Yeah, I mean, and this is, it had to kind of establish what's going on, and I think it did a good job of that. You're right, the first, but that's always like, in these kind of things, usually if this was a movie, like, it basically ended at like Act 2. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, you get the beginning excitement, then you get the middle, how they're dealing with it, and then the third act is the finale. Well, this is a series, so, maybe you want to say maybe it ended like, kind of an awkward, like, second half of it, but still good. It wasn't, like, bad or anything.
No.
And I love it. And I saw someone said, like, I mean, this is a bold claim. I don't know if I'll go this far, but someone said, oh, this is the best thing HBO's ever produced.
No, I wouldn't say that at all.
I don't think I'd go that far. I do think it was incredibly well done. I think that opening sequence, actually, with the talk show was actually pretty, like, frightening the way they did that, how they like when the scientist is talking, because I remember shows like that back in, like, the 70s where there was like those like there's the boring sets with these doctors would come on and it'd be on like a Sunday morning at like like 7 a.m. or something. You'd stumble onto TV and you'd find this thing, and it's like that it's those shows like that probably spawned a lot of my OCD and anxiety, because I'd stumble on them and, like, you'd get these, like, scientist what if scenarios that are, like, so minuscule, and I think they did a great job recreating that, setting up the events to come.
It was a great way to introduce the series. I thought the whole I'd say the first like 30 to 45 minutes of that is amazing episode, but then it starts to trail off. I'm hoping it'll pick back up again.
Oh, I'm sure.
And it was still good.
Pedro Pascal is so good.
The last one we saw that we both watched was a movie that's currently streaming on Shudder. Watch it on Shudder before it goes away, I'm telling you, because I had the hardest time trying to find this movie streaming. For years, I tried to track this movie down, and the only way you could get it was a $40 Blu-ray, which I didn't want to spend without seeing it. I may want to spend $40 now because it's a crazy movie.
Oh my God, crazy is a very understated term for this one.
The movie is Possession. I know there's like 30 movies with the name Possession. This one's from 1981. If you look for it on Shudder, it'll say 1983 because I believe it was released in the U.S. in 83, but the original date is 81. It stars an impossibly young Sam Neill in it, and it's a movie about an unraveling marriage, and that's about as far as I can go without giving spoilers. But the performances in this movie are the craziest thing you're going to see this year, probably, if you haven't seen this movie yet.
Yeah, Tim prepared me because he saw it. He actually prepared all of us in our little group chat to Emily Cohn, Ken, and I, and he basically says there's a movie. Just be prepared for a lot of screaming.
Yes,
and that's what it is. And there's like some just inexplicable screaming sometimes. Like all of a sudden they'll go from this like quiet moment to like just full on hysterical screaming and yelling. And I don't even understand. Some of these characters that come in and out of it like are just so bizarre. And there's way too much close talking in it for me. Those people are in each other's faces, and I'm like, and you watch like after just recently watching the movie Sick about COVID, it's COVID and stuff, and you see this, you're like, oh my God, can you imagine that?
It's one of those movies where it's really a movie more about the performances than the plot. The plot's so WTF.
I still don't know if I understand all of it. Other than I mean, I get the yes, it is about the unraveling marriage. That's the core of it.
I completely admit I don't understand this movie at all. Even if I watch it again, I don't know that I would understand it.
I feel like it's almost missing and it just runs just over 2 hours, and I still feel like it's missing a half hour.
Yeah, it's
because all of a sudden it jumps without spoiling it. It's going on, and all of a sudden it just splits and adds this other set piece, I'll say.
Yeah.
And this whole other, it's almost like another movie got spliced in at one point.
It's insane. Sam Neill, I was reading in the trivia that Sam Neill says this was his favorite movie he's ever done.
I don't blame him. It looked like probably a ball to make. It probably the direction was, okay, Sam, I want you to go there and just in the middle of whatever this says, just start screaming.
Just start screaming at your wife.
Yeah.
Isabella Gianni is the female lead, and I was reading again in the trivia where she said it took her years to get over this role, and you could tell. I mean, my God, she looks like. In this case, I think the acting was self-imposed. The stress of the acting was not like Shelley Duvall in The Shining. It wasn't like the director was putting her through this hell. I think it was self-imposed, but I don't know how you could come out of a performance like that and not be affected in some way. I mean, crazy.
I mean, it's like very unnerving. Like she, and she's like, obviously she's anyone that knows her, a very gorgeous woman, and you see her like. Just like different as like her character goes through stuff, like her face contorts the way she does. I don't even know how. Yeah, I feel like you need like a year off to rest
and long shots. I mean,
this movie.
Long takes where it's just her just being totally unhinged for 5-6 minutes straight. I mean, it's crazy. So anyway,
like that one scene in the tunnel.
That's like the showpiece scene there. But guys, definitely watch that one before it goes away, because when it goes off streaming from Shudder, I don't know where you're going to get it. I don't know.
I'm hoping it does have a re-release, and maybe this will give it some, because I think it's getting a lot of a buzz going on now that it's back on Shudder. So I'm hoping it gets someone will pick up a good one of Severin or Shoutfire, something picks up a release of this and does a good job on it and re-releases it on Blu-ray.
The second two I'm going to talk about, Brian did not see yet. The first one is The Pale Blue Eye. This is the Edgar Allan Poe historical thriller that's on Netflix now. It stars Christian Bale and I forget what the guy's name that plays Poe, but he's brilliant in it. Harry Melling. Back in the 90s, I used to read a lot of historical fiction. And I tended to gravitate towards historical fiction that took place in kind of Victorian era all the way up to 30s, 40s. And I got into this book. You've probably heard of the Alienist by Caleb Carr. Another one would be The List of Seven by Mark Frost. And there was this whole series of historical books, and it's an actual subgenre of fiction where they take actual historical figures and put them into a fictional plot. So there was a book by Harold Schechter called Nevermore that was released on the 150th anniversary of Poe's death or Poe's birth. I can't remember which one, but it put Poe in as a main character in the story in this murder mystery. And this became an entire subgenre. And I used to read every historical thriller that featured Edgar Allan Poe as a main character in it. So kind of weird, right? But The Pale Blue Eyes is based off another book that is in that same genre. And it concerns Christian Bale plays this guy that is a detective. He's hired by a military school that Poe is a cadet at to investigate the suicide, they believe, of one of their cadets. And once Bale gets on the case, it gets increasingly more bizarre and twists and turns. I thought it was good. I didn't think it was great. The pace was a little slow for me. But if you like historical fiction, I think it was a great adaptation of those kind of historical novels. So I would definitely recommend it. I mean, Christian Bale's good in everything. And the guy that plays Poe is really good, Harry Melling. So yeah, definitely check that one out if you get a chance. The next one up is one that I highly recommend. Oh my gosh, I love this movie. The movie is The Menu. It's currently playing on HBO Max. Stars Anya Taylor-Joy, who is just freaking amazing in everything she does.
She doesn't do anything bad.
No. And it concerns she's it's also got Ralph Fiennes is the big headliner in here, who plays a chef, and he has this restaurant on this remote island, and it's like $1,700 to go to this restaurant, and they only accept 12 customers at a time.
That's like half the restaurants in New York City.
Yeah, it's like super high end. And also only these very wealthy, rich foodies go to this restaurant. And Anya Taylor-Joy gets kind of dragged into this from the guy she's with, who I guess his girlfriend somehow dropped out at the last minute, so he ends up taking her. She's not into this at all. But she's kind of getting dragged along, and they're going to this really, really. I mean, and I loved how the movie set up the pretentiousness and the snobbery of like these really high end food critics and stuff. They really do a great job of kind of parodying that and criticizing that. But this movie, for some reason, like within 5 to 10 minutes, I was completely hooked. Sometimes it takes me a little while to get into a film. This one had me hooked from the very get-go and did not let me go till the end. But anyway, so they're going to serve this course throughout the evening, and without getting into any spoilers, things start going crazy. So I would highly recommend it. Anya Taylor-Joy is amazing in this. Ralph Fiennes is amazing in this. The visuals of the food, the whole foodie culture, the way it's kind of skewered, to pardon the pun, by this movie is amazing. I loved every minute of this movie. I absolutely loved it. It was by far the favorite of the ones I watched that we've discussed tonight. So definitely catch that one on HBO if you get a chance.
Yeah, no, I need to see that. I was trying to watch it, and then I decided I'd rather watch Possession. I thought that would be definitely something we both need to watch, to discuss.
The Menu definitely has less screaming. I will give you that. So
I think literally, a murder scene would have less screaming than.
All right. Well, unfortunately,
we're going from the cinematic tour de force now to what Tim got stuck with TUBI Trap.
Unfortunately, so Brian, with the return of TUBI Trap for season 7, Brian really laid one on me. So for those that don't know what TUBI Trap is, it's something we started last season. TUBI Trap is the idea that we decided Tubi has so many horrible, terrible horror movies. Now it has some fantastic horror movies as well, but Tubi doesn't play favorites. Tubi throws everything in the kitchen sink in. So
basically, you need to have a visual, and then you get on Tubi.
I thought it might be fun, and it's God bless me forever coming up with this idea, or curse me as it should be. I thought it might be funny is if we picked a movie for each other to watch, the worst movie we could find on Tubi, and give it to the other person to watch, and then they would have to watch it and give a review of it on the show. I thought that was hilarious until Brian started giving me his own Tubi movies to watch. And this one might take the cake for the worst. This one may take the cake for the worst.
I know. Where do I go from here?
I don't know.
Did I go too soon with this one?
You might have wanted to hold this one back a little bit.
But see, here's the thing. I have to play on the defense because if I left it out there and you discovered it,
right.
I would have to watch it.
You'd have to watch it. My movie was called Rectuma. It's the operative piece of that title should be Rectum, 2003. And boy, does this humor feel 20 years old. So Rectuma tells a story of a man that looks amazingly like what's his name from Perfect Strangers?
Balky?
No, not the other one.
Mark Lynn Baker.
Mark Lynn Baker. He looks like Mark Lynn Baker crossed with Gene Wilder. He basically, there's even a line in here that I actually laughed out loud, was where she said, "I'm tired of your Willy Wonka face," which cracked me up. But
which is probably what Tim was screaming internally.
Yeah. So this poor guy, he's in a loveless marriage. His wife's trying to kill him. He goes to Mexico on vacation with her, and his ass starts hurting him really bad. And so he goes to the doctor and finds out that he's been raped by some kind of Mexican frog that has done something to his ass. And so the doctor can't do anything for him. And I'm giving you the really high level first. The doctor can't do anything for him, so he goes to a different specialist. To give you some idea of the humor, quote unquote humor in this movie, the doctor is a Japanese doctor named Dr. Wansamsaki. Dr. Wansamsaki. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So this doctor has no choice but to put a radioactive uranium rod up his ass to try to cure him. But he doesn't follow the proper directions, and his ass becomes Rectuma, which is a giant ass monster to kill people. So that's the whole plot in a nutshell.
So far, it's believable.
Yeah. Okay, this movie is definitely on the Zucker Brothers type level of humor, just not done very well. It's the exact kind of humor I was probably writing when I was 14 or 15. And it's what I was not writing back then was racist humor and
just got a lot,
and pedophilia jokes. I was not doing that back then. So
this literally went down as downhill as you could go.
So here's the thing. For the racist humor, they had ethnic people telling ethnic jokes. Okay, so it's one of those things where the jokes aged like old milk. I mean, they're totally not appropriate
and for those who don't know Tim, he does not like.
I hate milk. So yeah, the jokes are they're really dated, and they're really like. I'm not trying to defend them in any way, but I was trying to be careful to say I don't think the guy's racist that wrote the movie or anything. But he's got a very diverse cast that are doing these jokes, so it's just one of those kind of. Best I can say is kind of like the Lloyd Kaufman style of just insult everybody and then nobody can be insulted kind of thing.
Right.
So it's kind of in that style. So I didn't want to give the impression that it was like mean spirited or anything. It's not trying to be mean spirited. It's trying to be just one of those like equal opportunity offender type movies. Again, I don't think those jokes aged well at all.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. You're talking a movie about a killer ass monster.
Yeah, so
where you can't take anything you probably hear or see seriously.
I will say though, there was two things about this movie that I absolutely loved, despite all the horror. Not the actual horror, but the horror of this movie being in existence. The first was there was a cameo. The Japanese doctor's assistant is a spitting image of Igor Bela Lugosi's character from Ghost of Frankenstein. Like it's quite intentional. Like you could tell that's who he was trying to dress up as. And the costuming is so good. If I saw this guy at a convention, I'd be taking a picture with him immediately. Like he looks just like him. It was amazing. It was an amazing homage, but it was a weird homage to find in a movie about a killer rectum. Like I was not expecting this guy to be like a Ghost of Frankenstein fan. and go, we got to have a guy that looks like Bela Lugosi's Igor. It just blew my mind. And then the second thing I liked was there's this extended, for some weird reason, there's this extended Silence of the Lambs parody running throughout the movie. One of the agents that's investigating the murders of Rectuma fancies herself Clarice Starling, and so she talks like her, and she dresses like Jodie Foster, and she even calls herself Inspector or Detective Starling at times. But she does a really damn good Clarice Starling impression, which I was kind of impressed with. She's
there you go. They got something.
She actually does really good. So it was just weird. Like the whole Silence of the Lambs thing, I was like, you could tell this is dated because like Silence of the Lambs reference today, those jokes have been done so much. Like it would seem impossibly dated at this point. In 2003, maybe a little less so, even though that movie was, 12 years old at that point. But anyway, I digress. That was the only two redeeming things I found out about it. It's one of those low budget, really juvenile humor type movies. I tried to find the silver lining, and my silver lining was Bela Lugosi Igor guy and the Clarice Starling impression. So
well, I'll tell you, if you look at this guy's like director list on IMDb, he literally like directs nothing but TUBI Trap films.
Yeah. Oh, I could definitely tell. Like his studio is his name is Pirro, Pirro, and his they even had a fake Paramount logo at the front. Yeah, but it's called Piromount.
Oh my
Pictures.
God, that's awesome.
So, yeah.
Well, you know what he did direct though, which is funny. This is a movie that I always used to laugh at because of the cover. He did that like Jim Hanks vehicle, which is Buford's Beach Bunnies. Which if you look at the thing, it like totally looks like they intentionally tried to get a Tom Hanks looking guy, and they found his brother, I guess, that looks like him, Jim Hanks. And I remember my friend Mark and I used to always laugh at it because they're like, could they exploit poor Tom Hanks anymore by taking his like brother that kind of looks like him and making him make the Tom Hanks face? If you know what I mean, look at what I'm saying. Like go look up on IMDb and look up this guy's history and look up Jim Hanks as Buford's Beach Bunnies.
Oh my gosh, he does. He looks like the Wish version of Tom Hanks.
Literally, it looks like like some guy cosplaying Tom Hanks from Bachelor Party, but it happens to be his brother. So it's how off could it be, really? But yeah, and it's so funny that this guy directed this, and who knows? And I used to laugh at the box art of that forever, and now look, we're like discussing a film.
Full circle of life. Oh wow,
it does.
So anyway, that was mine. So now I've got to really dig deep. I hate saying dig deep because it makes me think of the butt humor in this movie, unfortunately. But
yeah, I know. I'm waiting for a good. You should really let me have it for that one I gave you.
Yeah, that one deserves some payback for sure. So next week.
The good news is I have there were like 6 others I could have chosen. So. And they're almost at that level, so I think if you look around hard enough, you could probably get something.
I've got a list from
punishment.
From when TUBI said, if you liked Rectuma, you might like these 6 movies, and I was like, I'm writing those down. So
I love that though. If you liked Rectuma, like I don't think there's many people that would ever answer.
Well, if you actually
if
you actually sat through 90 minutes of Rectuma, that's probably the more accurate. But.
Yeah, it should be like if you survived Rectuma, you might want to watch these.
All right, well, it's time for our Ghostradamus. Every year we predict the horror news for the upcoming year. We each give 4 quatrains brought to us by the spirit of Ghostradamus, who channels through our bodies and lets us know what's on the schedule for next year. We're usually terribly wrong, but sometimes we get a few right. So we're going to see how we do this year. Cue the spooky music. Brian, so what is your first quatrain?
Yeah, I figure we'll alternate like we usually do and then do that. So my first one is, Miss Ortega's success is on fire, and she'll keep growing her fans, as in addition to Scream, another major role she will land.
Okay.
So I think that's a pretty safe prediction. I mean, she's already, obviously, Wednesday is season 2. I don't mean that. I mean, I think she's going to book something else this year that she'll star in that'll just blow everyone away once again. That's the interpretation of that one.
All right, mine was Scream 5 was a nice return, but Scream 6 really comes to play after smashing box office success. Scream 7's on the way. I'm predicting that Scream 6 is unexpectedly big hit, and we get a Scream 7 announcement before the end of the year.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll be an unexpected big hit. I think it will be. I mean, it's definitely getting to the part of the franchise now where you're getting that where you're, okay, let's change the setting now. Let's put it into New York.
Yeah.
Next time it'll be Scream in space, But, you're getting there. So, but so while I don't think that Scream, I still think, Scream movies are going to be like Saw, it's Saw at some level where you keep putting them out, people keep watching them, and they'll make money. It's just, you don't want to dilute this franchise.
Yeah.
It's too good to like Saw, you always kind of, there was like this tongue-in-cheek element throughout the whole thing that you didn't care how many because it was the same thing you were getting, but you didn't care. So yeah. Okay, the next one is why accolades for horror are rare. The buzz still does swirl, as this year will bring for Miss Goth at least one for her Pearl. So just to translate that is, I think she's going to win some kind of award for her performance in Pearl, which you have not seen was phenomenal, and it's one of my picks for definitely performance of the year. Doubt it will be the Oscars. They tend to shy away from that, but she will probably nab the Fangoria Chainsaw, which to me that is a major award.
Yeah,
so that's what I'm banking on.
That's a major award.
It's
a major award.
Yeah, I mean, she could win something else, like did they do the People's Choice yet? No, what was the other one? The Critics' Choice they did, right? But People's Choice, there could be something for that. And from what I heard, she tweeted out today, I guess, or through somebody tweeted, that they said Maxine, which is the next one, she said it's supposed to be better than Pearl NX, and it's going to be the best one of all of them.
I can believe it. I kind of believe it.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be, you're going to look back and it's going to be an amazing trilogy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're doing a rare thing where they're getting better,
Yeah.
It's like, so.
All right, my next one here is, with interest renewed in Insidious in a sequel to The Nun, it's announced that Annabelle returns for more malicious fun.
I hope so.
I'm anticipating an Annabelle sequel, and I hope so because Anna absolutely loves the Annabelle movies, and I kind of put that one in for her. I'm hoping we get a new Annabelle movie.
But Annabelle's a fun little series.
It is.
It's silly at times, but you know what? It's still kind of fun. I mean, I liked all.
I
of them
thought I thought the second one was amazing. I really liked it.
Yeah.
The second one's my favorite.
I mean, I didn't dislike any of them. So, hey, bring more on. The next one is after the unpopular remake. Many thought the franchise was complete. In 2023, it will be announced a return to Elm Street.
Ooh, that's a fairly bold prediction there.
Yeah, I mean, there's been rumblings for the past couple of years, so I'm trying to grab that wave. With Crystal Lake being announced, for Peacock. I mean, we have a whole year to get an announcement for some kind of Nightmare on Elm Street project. Now, remember, I didn't say it was a movie. I just said that we'll be returning there, so it could be an announcement of a series, could be something, but as long as it's in that world.
All right, my third one here. With Leatherface, Jason, and soon Michael Myers making their way to board game fame, it's time for another major horror icon to feature in a tabletop game. So I'm predicting a new board game based on a popular horror IP.
I think Halloween would be a great game.
Yeah, well, Halloween's already been announced. There is going to be
there is?
Yeah, that's why I said soon Michael Myers.
Oh.
That's not counting in this one because I've already heard of the announcement there. But I'm thinking some ones that were ripe for it would be Chucky for sure. I could see that coming to a tabletop game. I could see possibly Gremlins with the Goonie.
I think there was a Gremlins game. There wasn't?
There might. I don't know if there's
back in the day there was some kind
I'm
of.
sure.
It might have been. I mean, it may have been a kids game.
Yeah. I'm thinking more of I would love to see a Gremlins game in the same style of like Goonies and Back to the Future and stuff we've seen from Target, like exclusives. So
yeah, I
don't know. We'll see. I'm hoping. I haven't heard anything, but that's the point of these forecasts. We're trying to kind of go out on a limb, a little bit of a limb.
Yeah. So here's probably my boldest one because this is something that it's due out this year already. So this is kind of a bold thing, but I'll go for it anyway. So I always like to go one big risky one. So it says, while the massacre will come on game systems galore, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre video game will be delayed until 2024.
Okay.
So, I mean, it was supposed to be out last year, from what I understood. And Gun is taking a long time on this, and I think now it still doesn't have its release date, but it's kind of expected somewhere by the summertime. Well, the way these things go, I mean, I don't think Gun wants to take a chance. It's too high profile now, and after Friday the 13th had an auspicious start with a lot of problems in the beginning phases, even though that turned out to be one hell of a game that we still play to this day. I just have this weird feeling that something's going to happen, and they're going to want to tweak this game a little more, and it'll come out like first quarter of 2024. But so that's my prediction on that one. We'll see if it comes out. I hope I'm wrong on this one. This is one of the true ones where I'm like, I literally hope I'm wrong, because I cannot wait to play this game.
Yeah, and the board game. I can't wait. This next one up is this one could go either way. As you can see, it as risky or maybe it's not. I don't know. We'll see. His Cabinet of Curiosities was a hit, yet Del Toro hungers for much more. Horror fans will be overjoyed with what Lovecraftian tale Guillermo has in store. So I'm not predicting another Del Toro project. I'm specifically predicting a Lovecraftian project, which is a bold move. Now, if you know Del Toro, there was always rumors that he was going to do a Mountains of Madness, and that got scrapped, which was probably one of the most famous H.P. Lovecraft stories. So there's always been, and we know Del Toro is a Lovecraft fan, because you can see it even in Cabinet of Curiosities, the influence there. So I'm hoping this one more again falls into that wishful thinking bucket, but I'm hoping he announces something that has a Lovecraftian tie-in based on the success of Cabinet of Curiosities. So.
Yeah, I think overall our predictions are pretty good this year.
I think so too.
I think there's a good success rate.
Yeah. All right, let's get to our main feature. I'm dying to talk about this movie. We are talking about M3GAN. Easily the smash hit so far. I know the year's very early. We're only a little over 2 weeks in, but
yeah, already this sequel was officially green-lighted. 2025.
So M3GAN was my kids. As soon as that trailer came out last year, they were dying to see this, and they were wanting to go right then. I'm like, guys, it's not out yet. It's not out until January. So as soon as it came out, I said, look, I'm taking you guys. I promised you 2 months ago I would take you, and I'm going to live up to the promise. So Olivia graciously agreed to stay home with the puppy, and we took off to the movies and got to see it. It was Anna and Joshua's first horror movie in the theater, so I was super proud dad moment.
I have a feeling this is going to be a surprise, even though it's PG-13, but I still think this is going to be a big gateway horror film for a lot of people, like the modern version of a gateway horror film.
It's we'll talk about that in a minute, because I do want to discuss that piece of it. It was directed by Gerard Johnstone, stars Allison Williams as Gemma, Violet McGraw as Katie, Ronnie Ching as David, Amy Donald as M3GAN, Jenna Davis as M3GAN's voice, Brian Jordan Alvarez as Cole, Jen Van Epps as Tess, Stefan Gardeau-Monton as Kurt, Lori Dungy, I don't know, Celia, and Amy Escherwood as Lydia. Sorry, I butchered some of those names there. A robotics engineer at a toy company builds a lifelike doll that begins to take on a life of its own. Of course, the trailer went super viral. It was a fantastic trailer, and I'm going to tell you, if you've seen the trailer, you've essentially seen this movie. I don't think there's nothing in this movie that you're not going to kind of already know going in. And you know what? I didn't care. I really didn't care. I got exactly out of this movie what I expected walking into it, and I was perfectly happy with it. Fortunately, we had a really good crowd that was into it but not obnoxious about it. And what you're going back to what you're saying about a gateway horror film. Normally, I see PG-13 on a horror movie, and I just kind of roll my eyes and I go, "Oh God, here we go! They're going to dumb down all the kills," which they did. I mean, it's known that this movie had more kills in it.
But there is a rumored the Blu-ray release is supposed to have an unrated cut.
So I mean, it's perfectly known this movie was neutered down to a PG-13. But I tell you, the opportunity to go with my kids to take them to see this, it was indescribably awesome, and I'm so happy that in this case, I'm so happy there was a movie that they were interested in that I could take them to and not feel guilty or weird about taking them to see it. Because really, there's really nothing in here except for a couple of, there's a handful of cuss words in here. You don't have any, I think there's one reference to sex, but there's not.
Oh yeah, with like the Tinder on the phone or something like that. For
it's
like a split. It's so like hit like
right over their heads type thing, and there's nothing explicit. Yeah. There's no nudity. It's definitely one of those movies that it's a perfect gateway movie if your kids can handle language. My kids can. They know not to say. They know not to repeat profanity. We taught that to them early age, so I let them watch movies with profanity. I don't care. They don't repeat it. I don't worry about it. I draw the line at some.
Well, we don't know Josh won his board meetings. What he says.
True. Yeah. True. Josh was the one you got to watch. He gets a little.
But business sometimes you got to get a little hardcore.
So, but they absolutely loved it. Anna went back to see it the second time actually with one of her friends.
Oh wow! Check out Anna, becoming like a big horror. So she'll be taking over the podcast years down the road. When we're old and retired, she'll have to take the mantle.
It's so cool that they now have this movie. Now they have a horror icon, right? That they can remember that. Oh, I remember when I first saw that, and I love that's kind of established. So I'll ask you what you thought about Brian, and I've got some thoughts about why this movie was as good as it was.
Yeah, so obviously, okay, you see, like you said, you see the trailer, you see you only know, you know the plot. This movie could only go a couple of ways. Of course, you're going to get a comparison to Chucky, to even more my earlier generation, Deadly Friend, all that kind of stuff, and what, PG-13, you're going to take the gore out. So pretty much anyone with, who's just slightly astute of a horror person is going to go in and know what to expect. That being said, there's nothing wrong with that because this was one fun movie. I mean, was it scary? No, but it was a fun movie. It was a fun horror movie. Like it was, like I did say, like I think I had told you, like our crowd had a bit of a noxious teen element to it, because sadly most teens are not as behaved as Tim's children. Tim's kids are basically two of the most behaved kids I've ever seen. Other than that, it's like, but that's also Long Island. You get these and I was that kid too, so I can't really be too hard on people.
Yeah.
I was that obnoxious kid on opening night going to see a movie, so that's where the PG-13 element. That's my only gripe with the PG-13 element is because now parents could drop their kids off.
Yeah.
And if you have an unruly kid, it's scream fest in there, but overall though, after a while once you get into the movie, I can tone it out. Unlike the Hereditary experience where literally someone's laughing through the movie the entire time,
God.
which I just don't get. But besides that, but I mean, I loved it. I had so much fun watching it. Like it was, you saw everything coming a mile away.
Oh yeah,
and that's fine too. I don't care. Because you know what? I knew what I was going into. I knew what I was getting into. I was not going to get expected to be blown away with something revolutionary. They delivered a movie with exactly, for once, it's like, here's your anticipation level, and it hits it right on. You can't argue with that, You can't be disappointed in that.
I'll give you a perfect example of why this was a fun movie. And it's very minor spoiler. So there's a scene, and you're gonna know what I'm talking about, Brian. There's a scene where M3GAN starts singing. So first time we've seen her sing in the movie, and the audience just lost it. They are dying laughing, but it was not laughing at the movie. It was laughing with the movie. You could tell. Yeah. You could tell. And don't ask me how I know the difference, but you know the difference when you're in the audience.
You could tell the difference.
You could tell the difference in the audience. It was not a derisive laughter. It was not this is so stupid laughter. It was a laughter of pure delight. People thought it was the filmmakers knew it was funny because I saw an interview where they were talking about her singing, and they said they knew it would be a funny moment, right? So they knew what they were doing, but the audience, it was like. That's the point of the movie where I thought, oh my God, this movie has something special because it had the audience laughing out of joy, not out of derision. which is a huge difference. I mean, a lot of horror movies, you see people laugh because they're going, "Oh, this is so dumb," and they're mocking the movie. They were not. They thought. I think it was a love of the character. When she's singing, it was almost like an outburst of joy that she's doing this. Like, it was just...
Yeah.
There's...
I totally know what you mean, yeah.
But there's something so endearing about this character. And I think this goes back to what I wanted to talk about earlier was any movie for this to be successful, I think, especially like a killer doll movie, if you go back... I keep comparing this to Child's Play because it's obviously the biggest killer doll franchise out there.
Right.
The reason the Child's Play series works is because people like Chucky. It's not because they like the parents. It's not really that they like the kid. It's that they like the...
Poor Alex Vincent.
Yeah.
Such a nice guy.
Alex Vincent's great, but at the end of the day, people are there to see Chucky. They have to like the doll.
Right.
I believe the reason the Child's Play reboot did not work, despite basically doing the same thing Megan's doing, updating Chucky to be AI type advanced technology, that kind of thing, which makes sense in the today's world. That's a natural progression.
Right.
I think it didn't work because that doll was not likable at all. There was no charisma to that new Chucky doll at all. I thought filmmakers did a brilliant thing in focusing so much on getting the Megan character right. They used a facial structure that was very familiar to people because it looks like an Olsen twin. I mean, it looks like Elizabeth Olsen or Scarlett Johansson, or take your pick. It has that look of some very famous actresses these days.
Actually, a point, you know who reminded me of Ketrin?
Yeah.
from Kim and Kat.
But it has
Like
that instantly familiar face. And I thought they just did a fantastic job of making that doll so likable. And she's got this incredibly awesome snark to her, which I can kind of see being developed out of the way we think AI is going to go. Like, AI has obviously is going to be more intelligent, so there's always going to be this element of disdain and snobbery to it, and they just portray that perfectly with Megan. Like, she's this innocent little doll, but at the same time, she knows she's the smartest person in the room, or the smartest thing in the room, and she has this just really the only thing I can describe is snarky. She's got this snarky sense of humor, and I just absolutely loved it. I was captivated by it. I thought it was phenomenal. Like, every minute Megan was on the screen, I just was absolutely captivated. I thought they did a great job.
And I'm gonna tell you something too. I think that like what kind of helped with this too, but also real quick, I want to touch on. I thought Violet McGraw. She was, of course, most people saw her as young Princess Leia in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, and she had mixed reviews for that. I thought she was great in it, but in this, what I thought she did where she showed her kind of I guess her acting chops at being a young actress is where, as the movie went on, you could see her literally take it from this like little depressed little girl who, obviously in the beginning of the movie you'll see why, but she captures the Megan snark a little bit, and I thought that was pretty well done. How she did a good job of kind of getting that, like, changing her mood to where she was like, she would have these anger moments, that she would learn. So it was like, while AI is learning from her, she was learning from the AI, and I thought that was a nice little touch in there. But I think one of the big reasons why Megan is success and it's not that the movie wouldn't have been fun anyway. I think this movie was just, it was created and destined to be a hit regardless. But I think what was so brilliant is the way they played the viral marketing for this thing, like a symphony orchestra. I mean, you went in there knowing the character kind of already. You knew what you were, right? I mean, you knew, right?
Yeah.
Your kids said they wanted to see it.
Exactly.
It felt like the movie was out already 6 months ago by the time you went and saw it. And then in the past, that sometimes wears out on you. Where you're like, this isn't out yet. You ever see that where you're like, oh my God, wait, this movie still didn't come out? But for that, they did it just in the right way. And that whole thing where they played, like, they used the each social media platform, they used its own way, like with Twitter, where she would have conversations with you. And all stuff like that, and to the point of where you just couldn't wait to see more. You just wanted more of her. And then, so when you got in the movie, like before she got onto the screen. You just couldn't wait till she hit the screen, and once she did, you didn't want to let her go.
Yeah.
And so I think that was brilliant, you know, and I don't want to, you know, because I don't want to take away from the fun of the movie too by just saying, oh, it was all the viral commit, but I'm just saying that kind of definitely helped people get into the mindset of what you were going to get, you know.
Yeah, you felt like you knew the character going in.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's good because they really didn't spend time. You don't want to waste that movie time trying to develop like Megan's character. You want to kind of knowing what she is already. And that helps, I think, because if you wasted time, like, really trying to develop this AI robotic character and really you knew from the second she got, like, within 2 seconds in there that this was going to turn out bad,
yeah.
you know, for anyone that crossed
another
her.
Thought I had that I really wanted to talk about was another Child's Play comparison. But any killer doll movie, I feel like you have to take the parents out of the equation a little bit because they're too powerful, right? In real life, a parent would be too powerful against an evil doll. So you have to find a way to kind of somehow isolate them out of it. In Child's Play, I think it was done by making the parents kind of...
We had a single parent, number one.
Single parent, number one. And number two, she's kind of not very... as much as I loved the mom in Child's Play, the actress, but she's kind of portrayed as not very powerful. She's a single mother. Not to say single mothers aren't powerful. I had a single mom. She was definitely powerful. Same with me. Yeah. So not saying that, but in the movie, she's kind of a very, I don't want to say one dimensional, but she's not very like strong. She's not portrayed as somebody that's going to be able to take on this problem. So that's how it was done in Child's Play. In this, I thought it was absolutely brilliant that Allison Williams, the way you take out her parental strength, is you don't weaken her as a woman, but you make her very career oriented. You make her not a parent because she basically inherits Katie. So she has no experience being a parent. So she's completely focused on her career. So she's really not a parent at all, even though she's the parental figure in the movie. So now you've taken away that parental power, but just by a different avenue, which I thought was really brilliant.
Yeah, and they show literally every mistake that she made. Like, you could see so many mistakes she made in trying to care for Katie in this movie. I mean, for the fact of, like exposing her, you know, her emotional state, what she had for her own business gain. Even though, yes, you know, of course, you have that moment, not to spoil her, you know, where she relents on that. She realizes she cares for, you know, the whole thing, which is, you know, is coming. That's fine. She's not you know, you don't want
to make her a monster person. Yeah.
No, she's not an evil person. She's just so distracted. She's a single, like, career-driven woman. That's the last thing on her mind is to have a child now in the house. And I mean, the perfect scene that they do that is with the I mean, yes, you've seen it in a million movies, and, you know, as a collector myself, I've done that, where she's literally got a whole bunch of coolest toys on a shelf, and of course, little Katie comes in, sees that, wants to play with it. No, these are not to play with. You know, so it's like right off the bat, she's like, okay, this poor little girl just lost her parents. It's just an orphan, has no toys there, and she sees toys up there, and she won't let her play with them. Yeah. I mean, just only because not because out of meanness, just because she's so not, like, her mind is not there of what the needs of a child are. And, you know, as the film develops, it's like, if you notice, there's a lot of parallels of, like, how Megan is learning as an AI, learning this. The Katie learns to get, you know, a little snark from Megan, and Allison Williams' character learns how to be more compassionate to it. So it's like, I mean, there's some levels in this movie that you, like, if you really, when you discuss it, you really pick up on. Yeah. I think but it's subtle enough that it doesn't overbear the movie with anything, you know?
This movie could have easily been forgettable, but I think they just did a lot. I think the writing was good. I think the performances were good. I think the star of the show was Megan. The design of the character, the voice, everything about that character was just perfectly spot on, done well, and that's what makes this such a fun and great movie, despite not breaking any new ground. Really, I mean, we've seen literally everything in this movie we've already seen. done before.
Not one new thing was developed and added into this at all.
No. And it does a great job also, I think, of really satire of these big CEO figures like Elon Musk or Bill or Steve Jobs. I mean, the CEO in this one is very much like those. You can tell they're skewering that, so it's very on top. It's very, very of its time. Will this movie age well? Maybe not, but for right now, it's spot on. It's like perfect. It's already in the air, so to speak. Everything they're talking about with AI blowing up. I mean, AI is really blowing up right now. If you've played around with the chat GTP AI that's out there, and then the AI art that's coming out. So we're really on the cusp of seeing some of this stuff we've talked about for years really come to life, come to fruition. So as this isn't as far fetched as it might seem on paper anymore.
Yeah. Now, it's funny. I feel like from Mark and I feel like we were two of the only people that liked the Spielberg AI, that movie years ago. I'm like wondering how if that would do better today.
Yeah, I mean, it would be more realistic. I mean, back when that movie came out, that seemed so far science fiction in the future, even though it was being talked about. But I mean, my kids now, they go to see M3GAN. They can easily buy into that because they talk to their phones now. I mean, they got voice, they got Alexa and stuff, voice activating stuff. I mean, they already live in that world, so it's not a stretch like it was for us back in the day. So I love the whole AI thing. I find it fascinating, and maybe that's another reason why I just was fascinated by this movie. But at the end of the day, it's just a fun movie. It's a fun time. It's a great new horror icon, and I'm glad my kids got to experience the birth of a new horror icon. Now, whether she'll ever be as popular as Chucky or any of those guys, probably not. But I think she's, besides Art the Clown, is probably the biggest true horror icon that we've seen in some time.
Now, will we ever get M3GAN versus Chucky years down the road? I kind of hope not. I hope they stand alone. M3GAN can stand on her. Yeah, I'm already like, of course, that the sequel was announced. We're all excited, but yeah, you know what? Go to this movie. Go have fun. I mean, you know what? With the last couple of years we living in, and what's still like certain climates of the world of that you're dealing with, you know what? You want to go out into a movie to escape. This is like the perfect horror escape movie to go see. It's fun. You'll laugh along with people. People. It's one of these ones where people will react, out loud to things, and it's fun. It's good. I think just a more like I think you'll start seeing like more like M3GAN infiltrating other things in a while. It's like when did you see when they had her? When she come on? She came on one of the shows. Was it Kimmel or Fallon? I don't know where they did stuff like that. I think more like fun, like things like that'll happen down the road.
Yeah. Oh, anyway, I want a M3GAN kind of action figure. I hope NECA makes something like that.
Oh,
you should a popular Halloween costume this year too.
Oh my God, you're gonna see so many of them. Yeah, I think there were people. Well, I mean, Jason Blum already went as her for Halloween. But he has the advantage. It was his, like,
he kind of has a leg up on everybody.
He had the inside before it was cool. But this year I guarantee. I bet maybe that's what Anna will go with. Actually, you should get Anna and Joshua. All four of you should be M3GANs.
Well, I've got the dress.
Your family costume.
I've got a dress.
You do. There you go.
All right. So, what'd you have for our beer pairing this week, Brian?
So I found one, and it's from your neck of the not your exact neck of the woods, but your state, from Durham, North Carolina. It's for Full Steam Brewing, and it's called "I Am Not a Robot."
Yes, Full Steam is amazing. I love Full Steam stuff.
So you know that? Okay,
I'm very familiar with that. I've actually been to Full Steam. I've actually been to the brewery in Durham.
Oh, nice.
They have a great brewery there, and their stuff is readily available. Even in the grocery stores around here, you can find Full Steam stuff. I've liked everything that I've had to put out. I haven't had this particular one though, but I'm going to definitely track it down now.
Yo, you know what? Bring some to New Jersey HorrorCon.
There you
Since
go.
you're gonna
Yeah.
be driving this year, you can grab some of that.
I
And,
definitely
yeah, maybe
could.
we'll do like what we usually do when we all drive to a place. We can do some beer swap stuff.
Yeah, I was kind of looking at
Get
some of
some
it. They
stuff
have
from
one
here.
called, they have an IPA called Rocket Science that I really like.
You know what? That one sounds familiar. Maybe I had that one.
Yeah, I've kind of looked at some of the. I mean, they're just really.
It's not like I
solid.
wasn't down there and we went to bars all over the place. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that these are the ones that will like blow me out of the water, but everything I've had from there is super solid, and it's an easy go to if I'm in the store to grab something from Full Steam. So, yep, cool.
Nice.
So, I want to hear this description here.
Yeah, so it says, I am not a robot explores the concept of free will, consumer behavior, and market demand. Very, very goes well. I mean, goes very well with Megan, the movie there. It says, or maybe it's just a really tasty, juicy, and hazy New England style IPA. You decide. A beer so good it literally sits on Neil deGrasse Tyson's bookshelf. I don't know. I cannot confirm or deny that fact. I don't know. It says it's available on draft and in 16-ounce cans, so you can actually get a sample of it if you go to the brewery, Tim.
Yep.
The hops are pretty good in this, too. It's a Hallertau Blanc, Galaxy, Vic Secret, and my favorite, Citra.
Yep.
So that sounds absolutely delicious.
It's good. If I ever see that one, I'll grab it.
Yeah, definitely pick that one up. So, yeah, we don't have a game yet or a fan topic foo yet for this season. We're starting off slow with that kind of stuff, but I have some ideas for the games. That we have a couple of things we were shooting around. Maybe we'll do a poll. We also had one where we thought of maybe doing like well, actually, I'll keep that one under wraps. There's a more bold idea that I had that we might be able to pull. We'll see if we can pull that off. But another short-term idea was that we have several different games, and you know, we don't know which one per week it'll come up. Like, you know, various like trivia or, you know, maybe like a guess the line kind of thing. All different. Like, I think we need to keep that fresh because you know, especially because, you know, with the triple threat one was fun and everything, but like I got lazy having to post the clues online, and you know, and then people I think lost interest by listening to the 3 clues, so it got boring. So I have a couple of ideas for other games to do, but I kind of want to really try that. We got to talk off air, Tim, on this one about that, my more bold idea of the games.
Yeah.
There is a fun idea I think that could work really well if we do that. Kind of, again, borrowing a little something from Costa Radio.
All right, guys. Well, we will see you back here next week. I hope you enjoyed this second show of season 7, and we got plenty more coming your way shortly. Talk to you soon.
Yes.